Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast, episode 457. It's just me tonight, as it always should be, as it always has been, as it always will be. All right, that's not true. Terry Miller is on an airplane somewhere, flying to Portland? I don't know. Portlandia, where the dream of the 90s is still alive. If you haven't watched Portlandia, the first 2 or 3 seasons are really, really good. But originally, up until about an hour ago, it was going to be me and Ricky Wysocki. Because Ricky won this past weekend at the Cascade Challenge. Unfortunately, Ricky notified me about 45 minutes ago and said, sorry, got to cancel. I forgot I'm doing some sort of Jomez Pickleball Challenge tournament. I don't know if it's something that's going to be recorded and played, or if they're just playing on the side for fun. Jonathan Gomez is a big pickleball fan, and a lot of people on the Pro Tour are giant pickleball people. So unfortunately, he messaged me about 45 minutes ago and canceled out on me. So it's just me tonight. It sucks too. I was all really excited to getting a chance to talk to Ricky. It's been a while since we've had him on. He's been hurt. He comes back. He says he's at 100%, wins the Cascade Challenge, kind of comes back from behind a little bit. I think he was down 1 or 2 strokes going into the final round. So if you're a pro that's out there right now and you'd like to join the show, just message. I'll get you on. Find a way. Come on the board. Message and say you want to come on. If Hannah Macbeth is out there hiding, I know Paul is overseas right now. He's in Estonia. Hannah, you're always welcome on the show. I was going to reach out to Hannah, but I thought she's on the East Coast and it's an hour later there. It's 10 o'clock. I wouldn't want to keep her up another hour or two. That wouldn't be very nice. So Tim Courts asks if the name I called this podcast was John Solo, if it's any relation to Han Solo. I mean, rugged good looks. It's like Harrison Ford. I mean, clearly. I'm in like an Indiana Jones on the side. But tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the Cascade Challenge. We're going to get into some of the Masters talk. We had a Masters major go on this weekend, and I feel like it's probably going to be breezed over at a couple different other podcasts. But you know us here, we're always concerned about the old guys and old gals. Not really. They know they don't matter. But they did matter this weekend. First, let's talk about the Discrafts Cascade Challenge. That's kind of hard to say. Discrafts Cascade Challenge, presented by Grip EQ. That's over in Washington State. And as I said, my guest who canceled out, Ricky, that's okay. Ricky Wysocki wins this one by shooting 29 under par, besting the field by 3 strokes, beats Matt Bell, Evan Scott, James Conrad, who was, I believe, in the lead going into that final round. Unfortunately, James shot only a 5 down, and Ricky came back with an 11 down. Scorching. Not quite the course, hot on the course. That was Matt Bell at 12 in second place. But James falls down to 4th place. 5th place was Eagle McMahon, who I didn't even expect to play at this event, to be honest. I thought he was going to be one of those guys that just kind of bailed off, even though they registered. There were a few of them, quite a few of them for this event. But Eagle plays. I think Eagle's still got to get in, as we throw that in some air quotes, the silver events if he wants to. I guess he doesn't need to because he's qualified for the Pro Tour finale now. If you win, I'm sorry, he didn't win an elite event. He won Beaver State Fling, which is a silver. You have to win an elite event to automatically be qualified for the Pro Tour finale. So Emerson Keith is automatically qualified. Even if he doesn't play another event, he is qualified at the last spot or wherever his points would put him. So we'll see. So Eagle playing that silver event. In 5th place, tied with Eagle, was Anthony Barella and Una Heinonen. In 8th place, Andrew Marweed. We need to get back to the East Coast for Andrew. I feel like he's a 1032, 1033 rated player that I feel is his talents are being wasted right now. I feel like this West Coast swing, it clearly doesn't suit him. The massive distances, which we'll get into for the Portland Open shortly. just don't do him justice. Connor O'Reilly in a huge tie for ninth with a lot of other guys. It was Connor O'Reilly, who we haven't talked about much this season because he's kind of not performed very well. Garrett Gurthey, Isaac Robinson, Andrew Presnell, and Gavin Babcock, and Eric Oakley, all tied for ninth place. Not a bad turnaround. Some disappointments this weekend. Gannon Burr, 21st at a silver event. I expect kind of top 10s at silvers from Gannon. There were some guys up ahead of him that beat him that probably shouldn't have, so to speak. But that is your Cascade Challenge MPO side. Is there anything specific we want to talk about on the MPO side? For the Cascade Challenge, to be honest, I barely watched any of the event. It was so nice this weekend, all throughout the Midwest. I spent a lot of time this weekend gardening, and not gardening as in like me and my hands and knees. It's building a new garden. So it was more digging up sod and moving it to some bare spots in my lawn, which I had. It was great. Reuse that. And then just kind of shoveling and mulching and dirting and I let my wife do all the design stuff. GPO Studio says, laughing at the camera framing here, leaving the left side vacant for Terry. Yeah, I didn't reframe the shot because I just didn't. I could angle it more, but the funny thing about that is there's two different desks here. There's two square desks, one in front of me, one in front of Terry. And then we've got the backdrop. So if I want to sit in the middle, I literally am squatting two desks. So I'm sitting right on the divide of two desks. So it's not super comfortable. And the microphones would have to all be shifted and adjusted. It isn't because I miss my buddy here. I'm here with all my friends, but it is just convenient for the framing. KGU says mulch talk again. I don't know a lot about mulch. I know that my Jeep Cherokee can put about 30 bags of soil into it. Grand Cherokee. We've got a place around the corner that just will go and grab soil, topsoil for garden, and drive it here. It was really easy. But we're not here to talk soil and sod and gardening. That's a different show. That's the after show early in the morning that we talk gardening. We're going to talk FPL results now for the Discraft Cascade Challenge presented by Grip EQ. Cat Merch takes this one down, shooting 5 under par, best of the weekend, I believe, at this course. I think we saw a couple 4s earlier in the weekend, but Kat comes out with a 5 and just kind of catches up. Similar to what Ricky did, honestly. She ends up at 11 under. Sayananda only shoots a 1 under that round and finishes at 8. Sai was in first place going into that final round. Had just I don't want to say a tough front 9, but as Kat showed, holes 1, 2, and 3 they're gettable. And where Kat went 3 down there, Sai went 1 over. There's your difference. The back 9 is a smattering of birdies and bogeys for most of the field, most of the top of the field. Sai just really couldn't get the early game going and drops down to second. Holland Hanley shoots a 3 under that final round to bump herself up to tied with Maria Oliva. Maria's a name that we're hearing more and more this year, and she made a big name for herself last year when she went on tour. She's made some social media posts very recently about conditioning and why she didn't perform well last year. I didn't necessarily equate it with conditioning, although there's a really good chance. It just felt like last year she would have one of those rounds that just tanked her event. She would shoot 2 960, 980 rounds, but then come in with like a 910. And it just nothing worked for her last year. Not nothing. She performed well, but she always had that one, kind of like what Cole Radalin is doing this year. Cole's shooting some of the most amazing golf, but he can do it for only 1 or maybe 2 rounds. He's not able to kind of complete that event. Tied with Maria Oliva and Holland Hanley was Lisa Fakis. In 6th place was Emily Beach. 7th place, Vanessa Van Dyken. Sneaky name lately. She's been performing really well. 7th place this week. It is a silver event, so we don't have the full, You don't have Missy, you don't have Paige, you don't have KT. Uh, no Own. We'll get to Own in a little bit. No Jen Allen, but Vanessa just performing better and better. Love to see it. Allie Smith, consistent top 10. She was in 8th place. 9th place, a name I don't really know that well, Danny Cleeden. And in 10th place, Luque Lorenzen. That was your top 10 for the Cascade Challenge. Discraft's Cascade Challenge, if you really needed to know. Out on the board, we've got Spock Hazer, who says, guess what? It was his birthday today. It's probably still your birthday, depending on where you're at, unless you are maybe over in Europe. Then it's probably not your birthday anymore. Then it's late. But if you're in the U.S., it is still your birthday everywhere. And I want to wish you a regular Smashy, a very happy birthday. Carney Schill says his is coming up this weekend during the Portland Open. Carney Schill says the FPO putting for round 1 was like a 50% C1X on the coverage card, the feature card. Now the feature card, as we all know, is just a smattering of players, some of which are maybe our top players. Some of them are names that are just hot on the tour right now. Last week, I think we saw Carter Aaron. Yeah, I believe he was on a feature card as well after performing extremely well. He played okay. Let's move on. Actually, real quick, I want to talk about UDisc here. And up at the top, where it says Discraft Cascade Challenge, there's just Helsinki. And Helsinki, there's a name that I've been seeing a lot overseas right now, and it's Mari Vilman, Villmann. I might be massacring that. There might not be a V. It might be a W or something. Wilman. I don't know how it's pronounced. But he's been winning a lot. He won the first EPT. He won this Helsinki event. He's only 1,003 rated, but he's playing way better than that right now. He's beating established guys like Lauri Lettinen and Timu. Those are the names I recognize so far. Silver didn't. Juha was on this list. Silver's not. I saw Silver was out canoeing or kayaking with KT before she comes back over to the States. She made a social media post more or less saying that her month of May went by too fast and it's time for her to return to the U.S. My guess is that we're going to see her for DDO. She's not registered this weekend. Yeah. Who is registered this weekend for the Portland Open? FPO player stats info. I don't know if it says here right now. Oh no, Kristen Tatar is registered this weekend. Wow. My mistake. I didn't realize she was registered this weekend. I thought she was taking one more weekend off. So she is coming back. It is an Elite Series Plus event. The Portland Open this weekend. So which means points are worth more. I don't know. I don't really care, to be honest. These Elite Series Plus, Majors, Silver, whatever. Like, just perform well and you're going to make the finals. That's kind of how I feel. The points, it's almost like whose line is it anyway? The points don't matter when you're one of the top players. But Kristen Tatar is playing this weekend, so I'm going to correct myself there. So if don't take my advice for skip ace, apparently. As well as obviously Owen Scoggins, Katrina Allen, Holland Hanley, Missy Gannon, Paige Pierce, Ella Hansen. Since we're talking about it, we'll talk a little bit about the Portland Open at Glendevere Park. It's presented by Latitude 64, which is another reason why Kristen's probably playing. Do we need to have so many long courses? Honestly, the courses, Glendevere looks beautiful, but you're talking, I think I saw a 11,000-foot course, almost 12,000 feet, and a 10,000-foot course. Really? Glendoveer East and Glendoveer West. Now, last year, Glendoveer was one course. They've split it up. I've honestly seen some players complain online. And it might be subtly, maybe making comments about sore arms, shoulders. Someone made a post of an animated GIF of an arm falling off of a skeleton. Cynthia Ricciardi was talking about the distances, and let me be honest, like the distances are a lot. It's without seeing the courses yet, because now that we have an East and West course as opposed to the one course last year, which I liked, I enjoyed, but I think last year was like 13,000 feet or something ridiculous. I could go back on UDisc and look, but I'm not going to. I don't want to say I'm over long courses because I think we need them on the tour. But man, it's getting to be a bit. It's getting to be a bit. I'm not gonna lie. I'm looking forward to that East Coast swing now. I've had my fill of giant bomber courses. So we'll see what happens this weekend. But smart money is on your big guys. Vinny, Ricky, Gannon, Eagle, Simon, maybe a double G. Put your money on those guys. Cole Radalin, I don't think he's going to win. Now that I say that, he probably will. But he's another guy who crushes from the Northwest. FPO, long courses as well. I believe I saw 9,000 something and 10,000 something. So Ella, Holland, Page. I don't want to take Own out of it, but because Own just got off a Masters win. I think it's like her fourth one or fourth major. And that was a long week in the Northwest. And now she comes back to an Elite Series at 4. Just a lot of golf. So I'll never count Own out because she's a fighter, 100% a fighter. But it's hard. It would be hard to pick. I'd be really hard pressed to pick her for a top 3 this week, and that says a lot because everyone knows how much I love Own. But Portland Open, come on, people. Do we need the distance? Do we really need this distance? Archibald says design over distance every time. Of course, and they can go hand in hand. Like Glendoveer last year was really long, but it was a gorgeous course. And without being on the ground, without hearing what the pros are saying, it's hard to really judge a course. But man, I miss a player walking up and throwing a mid-range on the tee. Almost nobody does, unless the hole is under 300 feet. Not until we get over to the East Coast. So it's a tough one. Not gonna lie. I trust Dustin Keegan, who put together Glendoveer last year. I think he probably had some say in it this year. I think Jeff Spring did some work as well, maybe helped design it. I don't know. I don't want to step on anyone's toes or offend anybody. But I'll be curious to see how this Elite Series Plus event plays out, because my understanding, and I haven't been involved in any of the media, is that they were supposed to do featured hole broadcasts. And obviously they're going to have Tournament Central, the conferences beforehand, all this stuff. We're going to see what we get from Disc Golf Network here this weekend with this Elite Series Plus event. The plus makes it more. Plus what? I don't know. We'll find out. We'll see what they're offering. Let me pull up the Masters event here because I want to talk about that. The Tim Selinsky. All right, here's another mouthful. The 2023 PDGA Tim Selinsky U.S. Masters Disc Golf Championship presented by Innova. Is the Tim Selinsky always presented by Innova? You almost think they have to, right? Tim was an Innova guy. It would be weird if he weren't. The tournament director was Callie McMorrin. Callie becoming a big name on the Masters Tour. So this kind of ties right into it. Assistant tournament director, Rebecca Hall Duffy. It just says Rebecca Duffy, but she'll always be RHD to me. And in your MP40, a lot of people are talking about how the MP40 fields are getting more and more exciting. And I agree. I had Kale nailed for this one, but he took second place to Philo Brathwaite. Congratulations, Philo. Philo only rated 10-10 right now. Goes into a playoff with Kale. A playoff. And wins in extra holes, taking home $6,800, which I believe is the highest of his career. Kale in a sweet second place for $4,700. I bet they split the money. That's not nearly talked about like it used to. But MP40 these days, those are some old school players. That's when you get to the before the round. Although the money's kind of big right now, and you know the PDGA says you won $6,800 whether you split it or not. That's some tax implications right there. So I don't know if they would do that anymore. It used to be back in the day, if you went to a playoff, you kind of had a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge with the guy next to you, and you were playing for a trophy, and everybody took home, you just split the money. That's just the way it was all the time. And it's less so these days. But Kale LaVisca takes second place after a tie with Philo. Again, Philo had a great round, or a great round 3 to come back. And then gets into the finals because he was down by a few and actually is 3 worse than Kale. So Kale kind of jumped up. It was a lot of shifting and moving around, but tied for third place, Stuart McIsaac. Wow. Come on, John. Get your lips together. Stuart McIsaac tied with Matthew Blakely. Fifth place, 3-way tie with Dave Felberg, who we talked about last week. Chris Shotwell, one of the best names in disc golf. And Batman himself, Dutch Napier, the only guy with a Smashbox that I know with a Smashbox tattoo. Shout out to our boy Dutch. Forever a fan. 8th place, Chris Sprague. 9th place, Christian Dietrich. Been a while since we've talked about Christian Dietrich. And in 10th place, Tony Farrow. In the next 4 years, MP40 is going to get even more interesting. We've already got guys like Shasta and Matt Dollar who qualified, Bobby Music. I'm reading down the list. Those are all phenomenal players, but imagine when we're going to start to see Nate Sexton drop in and a few of the other guys who are starting to push the upper limits of our MPO field. Now everyone says, oh, wait 10 years, it's going to be really exciting. I don't know. I'm not buying it. I don't buy it in general, even in 5 years. I mean, it's going to be fun to watch them because I played with these guys. I know these guys. They're all old school players. But let's be honest. In 5 or 7 or 8 years, we're going to see the kids right now who are 10, 11, 12, who've been playing for years already, who are pushing our sport to new heights. And they're going to make the MP40 look like their MP40. It's going to be a good problem to have. And as I said, FP40, field of 10, Owen Scoggins wins $2,300 over Jen Allen, Holly Finley, Sarah Hokum, Zoe Andyke, Jenny Umstead. Congratulations. Actually, it was funny because we talked to Jen Allen last week about the different courses, a tight course and a long course. And the first 2 rounds really did play out like that. Jen Allen had a 1-stroke lead on the longer course over Owen. Then they get to the wooded course, and Owen demolishes the field. I think she bested the field by 4 strokes. Yeah, everybody by 4 strokes. And the next one was Holly Finley, who is known as a woods golf player herself. And the third round, Owen and Jen tie. And then in the finals, Owen just goes ham. Shoots 49. She averaged 990 this weekend. And that was because her first round was 969. Otherwise, she went 1020, 993, and 1010. Seriously. This was, I'm going to steal this from Statmando. Maybe it was PDJ Stats. I don't know, I saw it. This is the highest 4-round event that Owen's been rated at 990. She's never shot 990 at a 4-round event or higher. So, congratulations to Owen. As everyone says, she's got fight in her that we won't realize. We won't realize for years till we look back and go, holy crap, look what Owen Scoggins did. Look what some of these FP40 women did in FPO, is what we're going to say. You know, your Owen Scoggins, your Jen Allen, even Sarah Holcomb when we get to more of the East Coast. Sarah is, again, a woods technician. MP50. Jonny McCrae. A year ago, this man was on his deathbed. A year ago. And now he's shooting 1030 golf to win MP50 over Robert Bainbridge. I give it up to Jonny. Every time I see him, he's a phenomenal human. Love him to death. But what a... Everyone thinks Owen's a fighter. Jonny McCrae, that guy's a fighter. And it's great to see him on his feet again. FP50, racking up another major. Juliana Korver. It's not a pro major, or an open major, we'll say. But an FP50 major. Shooting 200 par, beating the field by 23 strokes. It was a small field. Patrick, now we're in the 55s at this point now. So, Patrick Brown, that would have been a great, Jonny McCrae would have crushed him based on ratings, it looks like. But who knows? Patrick Brown had strokes just to give. Patrick Brown wins MP55 by 8 strokes over Michael Worth, Blake Trezin, Jerry Randall. FP55, Sandy Gast. Shout out to Sandy. MP60, Peter Sontag, old school West Coast guy out of Castro Valley, California. I've chatted with Pete once or twice, long time ago. FP60, Pamaflage, Pam Renke. MP65, Mark Horn. MP75. Now, these are the guys and gals that were winning Masters when I was coming into the field. Bruce Sisson, MP80, no one else but Pete May. MP80, and that guy will still handily crush all of us at table tennis. Congratulations, Pete May. Cashing for $1,000. Is that Pete May's first cash? That can't be his first cash. Pete May's been a non-professional for many, many years. He always was an AM player. He played, but he would turn down cash. No, he did. I'm sorry, he did cash last year. He cashed for $650 last year. So, but Pete May taking home $1,000. And then we got some of the amateurs. MA40, JB Bowersfeld. Way to go. Janae Chaney, FA40. And everyone else you can go down and read. Shout out to everyone who's out there playing. It's great. That's all I'm going to say. It is great to see these players continue to excel at their sports. And again, Patrick Brown could still be cashing in Open. Jonny McCrae, top 20s in Open, for sure. Kale still almost winning events this year. Philo hasn't been on the MPO scene. He's been doing more broadcast and media and stuff like that. But, I mean, Philo's still a cashing pro if he wanted to go out there and play. Carney Schill says the secret is diet and stretching. You're not wrong. Jake Miller says, any update if McRae will be punished for his Champions Cup incident with Kyle Klein. I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, Jake. I'll have to dig into that. I have not heard anything. So, whatever that may be, I don't know. Citizen says Philo is the GOAT of broadcasting and should be on the number one team. We don't really have a number one team. It's just different teams. Ian and Philo tend to work well together. Terry and Nate work well together. Charlie and Brian work well together. Now, I'll say Charlie hasn't really done, I think he did one Elite Series event. He'll get to do some majors later this year. But there really isn't a number one team. And I've grown to like Philo as a commentator more and more. When I first heard him, I didn't like him. Honestly, I like him as a person. There's some nights at the Memorial many years ago that not shall be spoken of with Philo, and I remember a night in Charlotte after USDGC. A lot of fun. Philo's great. I didn't love him in the booth at first, but he's grown on me. I think he's gotten better. He still says some silly words, and he has a tendency to kind of overcorrect his host a little bit. As someone says, you need to be more like water. Just go with the flow a little bit. But overall, I like Philo's insight. He does, if you're out there in the morning, he'll be walking the course, getting notes. He's one of our better commentators. Those are your major winners. Major winners. I'm not going to lie, folks. I ain't got a lot to talk about tonight. What should we talk about? Disc golf related. Are there any pros that want to join the show? Not you, Dust. I appreciate always the offer. You're always throwing it out there, but I'm looking for an interview. Not just to sit and chat, because I can do that on my own. Lord knows I can talk. Lordy knows I can talk. Let me pull up the chat board here. Spock says Philo's winning speech this weekend was great, very respectful. Philo is a student of the game. He's a great guy. There's no questioning it. Schwebby got win 370 this week. I've stopped counting Schwebby's wins once he gets to 400. When Schwebby gets to 400, it's 30 more wins. That should be by September. No, that'll probably be next year, July. Next year, August, I'm going to say. That's 30 weekends. 30 out of 52. Schwebby likes to double up sometimes. I think that would be a pretty good guess. Next July, next August-ish. Alfred asks, do I think the Masters Tour will grow into something big? Do I think the Masters Tour will grow into something big? That's tough to say. I don't have a lot of faith that it will. And not for lack of trying by Callie. I think she's doing all the right things. I just don't know if there is the bandwidth for a Masters Tour yet. And this could be, it depends when you mean grow into it. Will what she's doing right now grow into a big tour over the next 5-10 years? Maybe. Will she bail out on this Masters Tour and somebody else pick it up in 5, 7, 8 years? Maybe. There is better golf to be had than Masters in Europe right now. The EPT, the ET, or the whole Euro Tour, the Prodigy Disc Pro Tour, whatever they want to call that, the DP, LMNOP. I have no clue. And that gets almost, I don't say almost no views because there's Disc Golf Stream over there, and we can talk a little bit about Europe in a moment here. But that is better golf being played, I would say, in the top 10 players than the Masters right now. And it doesn't get nearly the eyeballs that we get here. Is there some sort of preference to American players, people that we know? Is it cooler when we see Kale and Philo and Sexton and we'll just say someday maybe Doss or whatever all playing in MP40? Yeah, it is cooler. But, I mean, the European Tour to me kind of feels like, it feels more like what the Silver Series should have been. It feels like a feeder tour. We're looking at the guys over at the EPT and the ET, and I look at them and say, next year, the top 2 to 3 guys will probably, and maybe women, will come over here and play. And they're going to be your Linus Carlsons, your Una Heinenens, your Vino Makalas. That's what I treat and look at the EPT as. Now, it's its own tour. I hope it succeeds. I hope it does well. But the money is in the Disc Golf Pro Tour right now. So a lot of those guys are probably kind of hoping to make it big to come over. Just the way it works. And the money, there's limited money in disc golf. So it's going to take the Master. I don't think the Pro Tour is going to be big for another 5 or 6 or 7, 8 years. Bigger. I think we've kind of hit a plateau right now. I don't see, and when I say plateau, I mean regular growth that we used to be at. I don't think we're clearly not on the same accelerated scale as we were during COVID. That has slowed way down. But at this rate, it's just going to take a long time for the Masters Tour to come around. Although it would be kind of cool to see a coordinated tour. There's just not the money, and it's really hard. Like I said, limited money. People want to go, the sponsors want to go where the eyeballs are. And that is the Pro Tour right now. But I do hope Cali continues and it gets better and better and better. Spock says it's great to see Al Hermosillo on coverage again. Lefty Al, got to see a lot of him the last 15 years here in the Midwest. He's an Illinois guy. Yeah, he was doing really well that first round. I think he kind of out later. But, I mean, I like watching Al play. He can't keep up with Kale and Philo. Just, that would have to be the weekend of his life. But Al's a good player. Archibald Bunker says, frankly, I don't get the chance to see Masters golf. It's always DGPT. I like the guy. I like everyone at the DGPT. But the other thing to think is, if there's a profit to be made in Masters, who do you think is going to do it? Like, similar to what, the way I see it going is very similar to what happened to the National Tour. Let's say Cali gets something going, and if the Pro Tour doesn't come in and work with her or buy her out, and there's money to be made, the Pro Tour will put the money in, and the players will go to where the money is. It's capitalism. That's how it works. Right now, the Pro Tour is the, 1,000-pound gorilla in the room. They can kind of, I don't say do what they want, but they've got a lot of influence and power. And a lot of that comes with money. They've got a staff. Cali doesn't have a staff. It's Cali. So if there were money to be made in Masters, I could see the Pro Tour stepping in and doing a Masters Tour. I think it's in their long-term plans, but we're not talking, 8 to 10 years? Who knows? Carney says he wants the pickleball player or the COVID players to go back to playing pickleball. I'm sure the pickleball players, probably the original pickleball people, are like, oh, these COVID converts can't. There's so many of them. I can't get on my court. Ugh. There's room for everybody in both sports. Yanni Malay says there's less than 50 1030 plus rated players in the world. Best of the best. But we're gonna see those numbers go up. I really think we will. And I was having a conversation with somebody about what it takes to be on tour. And I think they were like 1,000 rated golfer and had kind of had hopes and aspirations of being on tour. And I flatly just said, that's great. Keep trying. But 1,000 rated player shouldn't be on tour unless you have some sort of phenomenal online presence, because you're not going to make it. You're not going to cash. You'll cash a couple times a year at best. If you want to be on tour, I truly think 1020 is that number. 1020 rated player can cash most weekends on the pro tour. And then you can get by on the silver events where maybe you could make a little extra money. But that's a grind. Anyone less than 1020, I just, if you're not on the tour already, or again, have a really phenomenal social presence, then you got to have a shtick. Quadzilla says, I thought the guest's name was John Solo based on the title. No, although there is someone online on Twitter I follow whose last name is Solo, who's a disc golfer. That's the only reason I follow him on Twitter. Tim Court says 1,000 was good 5 years ago. Yeah, 1,000 was good 5 years ago. It still wasn't really winning events, but it was good. It might have been able to kind of barely keep you on tour. And I hate to pick on him, but I always think of someone like Eric Oakley. Eric Oakley's what? Like 10, 17 rated? Gosh, I need to go look now. I'm not picking on Eric by any means, because I like Eric and I think he's got, he's a really nice guy, but how is he really making it on tour? Eric Oakley is currently 1,019, so he's right at that level. He finished tied for 9th for $1,192. Gavin Babcock, 1,012. Sponsored by Discmania. Eric is got an open bag. Now, Eric obviously has a great social media, and I think that's how he supplements that. That and Tina with whale sacks, and I think Tina's got like 12 other businesses she runs, maybe pottery and gardening down in Pensacola. But it's got to be tough when you're taking home $300-$400, maybe a weekend. Maybe you're lucky. You're traveling and you're living out of a van. I don't know. Like just looking at, and again, not picking on him. I mean, it's not bad. Eric Oakley, 300, 900, 700. Last couple weeks have been good for him. 12, almost 3 $1,200 rounds or events. But and again, Eric Oakley is 1,019. I think that's, again, almost the bare minimum at this point. If you want to start out fresh on tour, you should get to about that point. Yeah, Nate Perkins is 997, but Nate Perkins also does a lot of extra things on the tour. Not only is he working for the Disc Golf Pro Tour, I believe he does lessons. He is a manager, so he's making some sort of cut, agent, manager-ish. Nate supplements in other ways. Brian says they'll never be like the PGA golf and get paid big money. I think you're right. I don't think we'll ever be to that point. I don't think you're ever going to see the winner take home $2 to $3 million. I do believe we'll probably hit 5 digits. I could see the winners walking away with, 100, maybe 150, $200,000 on a weekend if you're lucky. But I believe that's going to be few and far between. Some of the biggest majors. At least that's what I'm going to see in my lifetime, I believe. Someone says these aren't the olden days when you could go on tour at 960 and occasionally play well. So many players. 960. That's almost what, maybe not, that's a little bit higher. If you're a 960 FPO player, I think you definitely should be on tour. But for FPO, what's it now? I would say 930. You're not 930 to 940. You need to be really moving up at 930, like a fresh 930 golfer. I think to go on tour if you're an FPO player, where you've got that room to grow. If you've been playing the sport for 5, 6, 7 years and you're kind of topping out at 930, yeah, probably not a good financial move. Now, if you've got a bunch of financial backing or you're, self-made quadrillionaire, yeah, go for it. So let's real quickly talk about this Elite Series Plus event and the fact that Paul McBeth is going to be not in attendance, because if you follow him on socials, the next 6 or 8 weeks, maybe even more than that, through the European Open, basically, he's over in Europe. He landed in Estonia today. He's going to be playing the Euro Tour. Why? Why not? Paul McBeth can do what he wants. He's going to go out there and build his brand. He's going to go out and play against the best Europeans in the world. And probably get 6, these are all silver events. Probably rack up 4, 5, 6 wins. It'll be a disappointment when he doesn't win. Let's put it that way. But I love the idea. Because Paul, still competitive in MPO, gets to just go and play different courses. Courses maybe that aren't 11,000 feet. Keep himself fresh for the European Open, for Worlds. I think it's a smart move. And I don't know if he was thinking of that when he went out there. Paul's a very smart guy when it comes to sports. A smart guy when it comes to a lot of things, but clearly business, sports, athletics, all sorts of stuff Paul's good at. But going out there and playing these courses that probably are not nearly as long as the Pro Tour, a little more technical, more than likely if they're European style courses. Now, I don't know all the courses, but the ones that I have watched tend to be more finesse, which, as we know, Paul is phenomenal at. And he is, as someone says on the board, Tim says, he's probably going to help push Discraft in Europe. Discraft, from my understanding, doesn't have a big European foothold. So if he can go over there, glad hand, shake some hands, kiss some babies, beat some pros, and establish a little Discraft foothold in some places, why not? Now, that would entail, obviously, work with Discraft. That I think you can't just have Paul go in there and play well and be like, yep, I'm Paul McBeth. Look at me. I play well and I shoot with these discs. You need to have a coordinated effort with Discraft to have places stock your plastic. So maybe they're doing that. Maybe they're pushing that. Paul's going to come back nice and fresh. He's going to hit the European Open nice and fresh after Sula. We'll see what happens. Dondo discloses that if you were a millionaire, you would be jet setting across the world, hit Europe before the next big war. I don't know if there's another big war. I don't think that's what Paul's thinking. I think he probably wants to play out there. He assume it would be fun and build his brand. P. Hamill says he's got nothing to lose by playing overseas, because he's only been so as here as of late. Yeah, we've seen that from Paul. Maybe lose a little focus here in the States when it's not a major. Just, it's not that he's not trying, clearly. But his mind might be elsewhere. He's got foundation stuff to deal with. He's got, a wife. He's got horses he's putting in. The Elite Series events, they matter a little less to him than they do to some people. He's also getting some DGN promo, so it's all a plan. Yeah, I honestly don't know what happened behind the scenes as far as how that worked. I don't know if the Disc Golf Network, I know they've been wanting to get over to Europe. I don't know if it was coordinated with them or if Paul went over, and at that point, which seems more likely, that Paul decided he was going to go over, and then the Pro Tour said, cool, let's kind of ride this wave. Because Paul's going to be on the feature card every single round, every single event, more than likely. He will be on the live feature card. These are going to be Paul McBeth showcase rounds. Almost probably every weekend. Every weekend there's an event. There's a good likelihood Paul will be on the first or second card. And if Paul Seiya can put out a solid product, we're going to see a lot of Paul McBeth if you want to. If you want to watch Disc Golf Network. Might as well call the Disc Golf Paul Network. P. Wheat says, do you think Natalie Ryan will try and play the preserve? I don't see why not. I think she'll try. It's obviously a lot of lawyer stuff that I am not even qualified to weigh in on. So I'm sure they'll look at Minnesota and decide if it's worthwhile to file there. If not, if they do, they should probably be filing soon so they don't run into the same kind of issue that they had in California with like an emergency thing. I don't know. We'll find out. Jay says the worst that Paul has done this year is finish 25th. 25th for Paul is, and again, air quotes, bad. He's a top 10 guy. I think he still feels that way. And I think he is. So 25th for him is... P. Hamill says Joe Mez is going to be doing a feature documentary thingy about all his travels. Not shocking at all. Not shocking. Paul has worked with Joe Mez and the foundation through and through quite a bit. So the fact that there's going to be something there, not surprised at all. Is Natalie eligible for in Europe? I don't know. That's a great question that I don't have an answer to. I don't know what the local laws are as for the European Open and the Sula. I don't feel like it would make sense for her to go over for just Sula, if assuming the laws were saying you can, she can play here but not here. I don't know. I think it'd be fun to see her go over and play. I like watching Natalie play. Mark Hill says, what did folks think of the Cascade Challenge? From the little bit I saw, and again, I really didn't watch much. Memorial Day, Memorial Weekend, a lot of outdoors, bonfire, s'mores. Yummy. I kind of stayed away from golf this weekend, other than threw some putts in my backyard. But what I did see of the course, it looked like a good mix of wooded and open. You know, Ricky coming back, being at 100% now, he says. But that 100% could turn into 50% in a week with, unfortunately, the way Rick's disease is. It's just the nature of the beast. If you do want to watch the MP40, Gatekeeper filmed all of it, and Philo did commentary. So you want to watch Philo commentate on his win, which I may go and watch. That could be kind of cool. Someone's saying a few too many long holes for the FPO. If it had another couple more short ones, it'd have been perfect for FPO. Yeah. I think we should have, God, I would love to see more of a mix. We're getting back into what we were talking about before, with the courses just being too long. I don't think they're too long. I think we have too many long courses. And it's nice to see Maple. I love Maple. I like Smugs, because the course, I don't feel like the courses are ridiculously long. You don't have a 700-foot followed by a 1,000-foot, followed by a 600-foot, followed by a 700-foot. You just have so many less of those. I want to see more 280-foot, then a 500-foot, then a 330, then a 600. I want to see more interspersed short holes, because watching players go back and forth is also a skill. But it was all right. In general, the Cascade, a good mix of holes. I think everyone liked it. I don't believe that's where they wanted to be. I think they want to be at the kayak course, and the OTB, I believe, has footage from their skins of the kayak course. They're talking about making multiple courses there. It could be a future establishment for the Pro Tour. I'm curious to see how long these silver events last. And I'm saying this because I don't know anything. If I did know something, I couldn't say it. So I can say this out loud because I don't know jack. What's the point of the silver events? Other than being less points. Originally, we had thought that they were going to be feeder events, like a small feeder tour, but now they're kind of just treated like Pro Tour events. The only difference is the amount of money added to them. If we're fine having, because even the Pro Tour, when they put out these articles and such, they're saying, hey, their first so-and-so win on the Pro Tour. Is a silver event a win on the Pro Tour? Technically, yes. Does it feel that way? It feels like a silver win as a spectator. I can't say, and never will be able to say, what it feels like to win. I'm sure it feels great to win if you're winning your first one, or maybe your second one, if you don't have that Elite Series win yet. I'm not sure. There's not much difference other than the amount of added cash. Because we're getting 3 full days. We're getting all the days of broadcast. It's pulling in, these early ones pull in a lot of the big names because they want to get their quota in. Then they can just kind of fluff off. Like I said, look at this weekend. There were a lot of players that dropped this weekend. It just, we keep track of them on the Skip Ace website. There's a gentleman who puts out a list of players who dropped and added, usually either the morning of or the day before the event. And this, I think it was like 8 or 9 deep of players that dropped out of the event. Just because they don't have to play. I don't know. I don't see the books. I'd have to look at the money as to what the Pro Tour, obviously the Pro Tour is always looking to add value to the Disc Golf Network. Are the expenses worth what the broadcasting costs are? I don't know. I'm sure they are, because you can sell lots of stuff. Dust says, man, you could have hit me up if you weren't alone. I was supposed to have Ricky on. He bailed on me about an hour before we started to do pickleball. I thought about you, Dust, but I was also reaching out to other pros, kind of threw a couple feelers out there. I reached out to Cat Merch, unavailable, didn't get back to me. And again, I don't blame them. There wasn't much time when Ricky kind of bailed. And I thought about asking, but I was really kind of hoping someone would pop in, and then I could just bring him in real quick. So instead, I just did it alone. But I'll get you on there. We'll get you back on. Stan Tall Studios says that they're for local players to dance with the pros. That really adds to the local scene. It does add to the local scene, but let's be honest. Does the Pro Tour care about your local scene? Not really. Or should they? Does the Pro Tour really care about Washington's Cascade Challenge? I mean, they're making, unless you count them making fans, but if the Pro Tour is rolling through your town, you're probably going if you're that big of a fan. And I think the Pro Tour has great intentions. I'm not knocking on the tour at all. But it's cool. It's cool for local pros to be able to step up and play with, Connor O'Reilly and Eagle once in a while, or maybe Gannon Burr. Let's say like Gannon this weekend, who took 18th or whatever it was. A local pro, no reason why they can't take top 20 in an event. If you got a good weekend, you've got a 1,005 rated pro who has a good weekend and they're shooting 10-20 golf, no reason. Alfred says, I got to get you and Terry on an interview somewhere. I don't think I've ever seen one with you guys on it. We've done a few small interviews. We did an interview with the Upshot one time. Yeah. We haven't done a lot of interviews. It would be fun. Have somebody else ask the questions for a while. Been around a long time. Might have some things to say. Maybe I don't. Honestly, we talk a lot. I recorded a podcast earlier today for Skip Ace talking about my picks for the Portland Open, who I think some sleepers. Obviously, here's what I'll say. Grab your long arms. Pair them up with a sleeper. I think someone like Max Regetnig, I believe his name is, who played really well here last year. Find someone who can bomb. This looks like it'd be a great course for Albert Tom, but he can't hit the broadside of a barn inside the circle right now. I think he's 128th on tour. And C1X, that's abysmal. Abysmal. He needs to work on something. You could pick Tom, but good luck with that. I personally wouldn't for Skip Ace, because I couldn't trust his putting. He's worse in C2. Ugh. Same thing for FPO. Go with your long arms. Ella, Holland, Page. And then maybe, I think Jen Allen could be a good one if you want to save some ratings points. And then as well, a Maria Oliva, who's like 945 rated, who throws a mile and has been playing really well lately. So Daryl asks, John, are you still doing switching for the Pro Tour? Yes, I am. They have not let me go yet. I just basically have the summer off. I did some at the beginning of the season, and come mid-August or so, I'll be doing some at the end of the season. I said last year, at the end of the year, I told Mo, I said, I'm here if you ever need me, which is true, but I would like to take a small step back and spend some time with my family. Because the last 7 or 8 years, I haven't. It's been a lot of weekends. I was at a cookout on Sunday night. S'mores. S'mores are yummy. And I was wearing a disc golf, like a almost like a pullover, you know, kind of like a wind jacket, the midi one for the guys at midi here in town. And a woman looks at me and she goes, "Oh, you play the disc golf thing? You do that?" And I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit. I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh, I know a guy who plays locally and this and that." And it's funny because my neighbor, who I didn't realize had a tent basket in his backyard, just one of the fold up ones. And so the first thing I, of course, do, like every golfer, I walk over to see what discs he has. Looks like he's got some old Champion plastic, not like the old Champion plastic, but some Champion plastic and an old Z Wasp, a GT Banger. I'm like, geez, this guy's had these for probably 10 years. And then he walked over to my house and he knows the basket. I've got the full basket with a stack of discs. And he jokes to me. He's like, "Yeah, I hear you putting in the backyard. It's constant, this chains. He's like, "You must be pretty good." I said, "Well, I'm usually putting from like 15 to 20 feet. I don't miss those. And those are the ones that I feel like if you miss them in a tournament, you hate yourself. You can miss a 30-footer and kind of wash it off your back like, it's a 30-footer. And you walk up to a 15-footer or 20-footer and miss, it feels awful. So I practice those a lot. That's what he hears. He's got one of the fold-up baskets. But I told him he's always welcome to come over. But a woman, she's like, you are you involved? Like, I used to be, and then the whole media thing, and now my play has gone down while the media went up, and now I'm kind of hoping to reverse that. We'll see. But I still am doing switching, just probably not until August or so. Spockhauser says, "Could a s'mores malt happen?" Yeah, isn't that just kind of a hot cocoa with maybe a little bit of graham cracker in there, right? Marshmallows, chocolate, throw a little graham cracker, maybe a touch of cinnamon in there. Isn't that kind of just what hot cocoa is? Just a s'mores in liquid form. I think that someone asked if I asked Philo on the show. I was going to reach out to Philo. Philo is notoriously, I don't want to say flighty. That's not the right word. He's tough to get a hold of sometimes. And it's funny because I looked at all the winners this weekend, and the one that I thought that I might have the best chance with was Ben Calloway. Because I believe it was the Rumble this weekend, the Rumble presented by Discraft. Ben won that, and I thought we haven't had Ben on in a long time, and I was thinking that Ben Calloway would be a fun get, but within only an hour's notice, I honestly can't say that I tried that hard to get Ben. Do we have any other big events this weekend? Tennessee State Championships. That's June 2nd through 4th. It looks like the weather in Portland is going to be great. For the Skip Ace podcast, the other one, I always look for some local music to play. And the two bands from Portland, Oregon. Surprisingly, there's not a lot of bands from Portland. Would have thought there was. But Modest Mouse. I went with the Dandy Warhols. But if it was going to be rainy and gloomy, I was going to go with Elliott Smith because nothing beats a good like rainy day Elliott Smith song. But we're not here to talk music. I swear to God, we're not going to talk music tonight. We did that a few weeks ago. That's not what Jonny solo podcasts are going to become. Music talk. Not doing that. Do we have anything else that we need to discuss on the show? It's obviously a pretty quiet one. Like I said, Ricky reached out and said he wants to get back on the show, but forgot about the pickleball Jomez thing. Because if there's nothing else, we can probably wrap this up for the night. I know it was kind of a quick one. Quiet. We're going to let everyone get some sleep tonight. What time is it? A little like 10 after 10 here in the Midwest. It's a little too late for me to play more Zelda. I've been playing a lot of that. Tears of the Kingdom. It's great. That's all I want to do right now. So Nick Markey asks if you've taken calls yet. I'm not taking calls, Markey. Not yet. Nick Markey, for those that don't know, works a lot with the Pro Tour doing graphics. It's Markey. It's funny. I was thinking the other day how you came in and I had no clue who you were. You're just a guy that was going to sit down and do some. Gary was going to teach you graphics, and you were just some like, you weren't hippie looking, but you kind of had that vibe a little bit. And now that I know you a little bit better, clearly I don't associate that with you nearly as much anymore. But just to think where the progression has happened with you, Markey. We used to have to try to find everybody local. Now we can go wherever we want in the world. Kind of fun. Tim says, do a Zelda stream on Twitch with Hannah. I could do that. It'd be a lot of fun. My son and I have been having to share time on the Switch. We only have one Switch because we're not crazy. And he gets home from school and he'll play it. And then at night, we'll do dinner or whatever. At night, then I'll take it over from like 8 till 10. So he's already beat the game, but hasn't done hardly any of the side quests. Me, I went the opposite way. I started doing all the side quests, and I've put off beating the game. So I've got way more like stuff than he does in the game, but he beat the game first. Everyone gets to play their own little way. All right, everybody. It was a fun week. It just feels like it's been a 2-week break, honestly. I know we've had the Beaver State Fling and we've had the Cascade Challenge, but these are not elite events, so it feels slow. We're getting Portland. And then what does the schedule look like after that? That's actually a really good question. Let's go to dgpt.com. I think we've got a 2-week break. Then we go to DDO. Yeah. So this weekend, June 1st through 4th, is the Portland. Then they've got a 2-week break while we go over to the DDO. And then the week after that is the Des Moines Challenge. There's got to be a silver between Portland and DDO, right? Right? It is. It's Zootown. The Zootown Open in Missoula, Missouri. Or no, I'm sorry, Montana. The font is tiny on my screen. Missoula, Montana. The Zootown Open. Yeah, Missouri would be not that far out of the way. But Missoula, Montana at the Zootown Open. That's a popular event. I know a lot of pros for a long time really loved playing that. Yuli was a huge fan of Zootown. And if there's an event that guy that he's going to play well at, it's going to be that one. So for me, Jonny V, I don't think I even have an after show in me because this kind of was a after show. I'm reading the board now. Someone did correct me, Montana. Yes. Missouri is a little further out of the way. Although, like I said, it's right next to Kansas, so it wouldn't be like way out of the way. But my font was pretty tiny. All right, we're going to wrap this up. I'm reading the board right now, and it's just the way it is. Spockhauser says, do an after show. I don't know if I have an after show in me. We just talked. All I've been doing is playing Zelda and doing gardening. I replanted some grass. Like I said, I had these big bare spots in my yard. We had a disc golfer, good friend of ours, Jason Sanfilippo, put in a patio last year and tore up my yard because he put it in spring, and he brought these big heavy haulers and it just tore up my yard. So we replanted it last year, and it took like 85%. But there's still like patchy spots. Like there's a big dirt patch. And so I overseeded it, got it a little bit better. I'm overseeding it again this year. But then there were spots where we pulled out some trees in the yard and whatnot. So there's just some big bare patches. Well, when we were tearing up our garden, we reused some of that sod and moved it from the garden where it was over to where the thing is. So I'm hopefully it'll take just fine. Keep it watered, all that stuff. So I don't have like 4 or 5 just, put your arms together like a hug. And that's about the size of what like some of these bare spots were. Hopefully we're going to get rid of those. But we'll see. I got to keep up on it. I'm not the best when it comes to gardening or outdoor stuff. I kind of hate it. I'm not intimidating any neighbors with my chains in the backyard. So I want to thank everybody for joining tonight. It's 10:15. It's going to be a short one. Heat or Nuggets? I'm going to go Nuggets. I think the Heat's magic ride is about over. They'll probably win one game. The Nuggets are well rested right now. The Heat have just come back from almost lost a 3-0 deficit, or 3-0. They were up 3-0 and almost came back to lose it against the Celtics. So I think the Nuggets are going to win in 5. Someone says Nuggies in 6. I think it's going to be Nuggies in 5. Nuggets are a great team. And I think that, like I said, the Heat's magic is starting to fail away. They're just lucky not lucky. They beat the Bucks, I think the Bucks would be where they are right now. But you know what? That's why you play the game. So, for episode 457, I'm your host, Jonny V. Terry Miller will be with us next week again. As I said, he is on a plane right now, probably frustrated, maybe watching the show. Probably not, though. Probably doing editing, knowing him. Or watching some awful Netflix series, which he tends to do. I will be back with Terry next week, and we will summarize the Portland Open. Hopefully we'll get the Portland Open's winner on. If we're lucky, it's Ricky. Let's just let Ricky win, and then he can come on and talk about the last 2 weeks. And he'll tell us all about his pickleball challenge. So, for everyone here, me at Smashbox TV, have a wonderful night, and we'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox. Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV.